Alright, so in this video, basically going to do a test of an animation setup so that we know what we're going to be doing. It'll involve creating the models in Blender, setting up the layout in Modo, importing all of that back into Blender so that we can animate the character in Blender, and then eventually exporting an MDD file and then importing all that into the final file in Modo. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first of all, I'm just going to make a bunch of different models. So I'm going to make something here. Just for the fun of it, let's make a chair. All right. Control R2, SX, Control R2, right click, SY, and so we have individual faces here. Ta-da, chair. Okay, I'm going to save this out. Test production. So we're going to create a new folder called models. This is chair 1. All right, let's create a new file, delete everything. Let's create another cube. Actually, let's create a lamp. So, mode here, SZ. Actually, let's start over. Cylinder, I don't want that many vertices. Let's do 8. Scale it up. Let's move it up. Go into front view. Okay. Control R. Let's do something like that. Control R. Let's put another one down here. Z to go into just the wireframe mode. B to select those. We're going to scale those in. So S, Shift Z so that we don't scale on that. And already we have something that resembles a lamp. Let's go ahead and flesh this out. Hit E to extrude, scale it in a little bit. It's E to extrude again, down, scale it, hitting S. E to extrude, right click, S. Actually, if I'm going to subdivide this, I'm going to pull that down there a little bit further. There we go. Control R, something like that. Faces. E to extrude, scale that in. E to extrude, scale that in. Okay. Control R. Oops. Control R. Sharpen up that edge. We need to hit Control R one more time here so we can sharpen this edge. All right. So I have a basic lamp. Save that. Lamp 1. And do one more. Let's create a trash can. Pretty simple. Create a cube. I have a trash can here in front of me, so select all those, scale that in a little bit. Actually, select everything. I'm going to push this up to the center. Should probably do the same thing with the chair, but it shouldn't really make a huge difference. Control Tab face, okay. Right, E to extrude, scale that in. E to extrude, right click to cancel it, G, Z, go down, scale it in. Not sure how close, there we are. Yeah. So pretty simple trash can. If we want to have this subdivided, we need to put in some edge loops. So first of all, E to extrude, let's do it right there. What you can do is hit Control R, hit 2 because we need 2 of them. Right click, keep them in the center, SX, and scale those out to sharpen up that corner. Okay, same thing on this side, 2, scale X, oops, nope, we're on the Y now. Hit Y, sharpen up that corner. Now we need to sharpen up the top. So Control R up here. Control R for the bottom. Okay. Now we need this inside here. So let's go up to the top. Control R, one for the bottom. And if we were to go over here to the modifiers and put a subdivision surface on this, you can see, we smooth it, go into object mode, smooth shading, A to deselect. Have a pretty sharp trash can. I think that could have been improved a little bit more, but no worries. Let's call this trash can 1. All right, and finally we need to make a character. So I'm just going to make something really, really simple here. First of all, I'm going to delete these guys, so I don't need them. It's going to create like Mr. Boxman. Let's see. Scale that up. Just do this from a side view, first of all. Scale that up. Actually, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cheat. Right click to center this. Vertice mode, go into front view. Delete all the vertices on this side. Now we're going to go over here to the modifiers. We're going to mirror on the x-axis. We're going to merge it. So now everything that happens on this side happens on the other side. So I'm going to scale this on the Y because it should be thinner. Face mode. By the way I'm bringing that up is Control Tab, but you can also do it down here with the vertice mode. You can also go into multiple vertice modes, or multiple modes. You can go into vertice mode, go into edge mode, and polygon mode by holding the Shift key and selecting all of them. But I like to only be in one mode at a time. So E to extrude. I'm going to pull this out. These are going to be his arms. Let's create an elbow. And just create his arm and then his hand. So I'm going to scale that in because that turned out a lot longer than I thought it would. Front view here. Oh, what happened? I think I deleted it by accident. All right. Front view. E to extrude. Pull it down. Separate this out. It's going to be his legs. E to extrude, this will be his knee. E to extrude, this will be his feet. So yeah, nothing to look at really, but it'll just help show what we're trying to do. I'm going to make his arms a lot thinner. Oh, where is it? Oh, I didn't select all of it. It's the oddest looking character I've ever seen, but okay. Yeah, okay. That just doesn't look good. But that's fine. I'm going to save this. This is going to be our character 1. All right, now I need to go into all of these and export them. Now, in previous videos, I've exported it as a collada format. The reason for that was because I encountered some polygon flipping errors, and I'm going to risk it and try a wavefront OBJ again. So I'm going to go back into object mode, save it again, file, export, wavefront OBJ, models, export, or let's try OBJ. All right, we want to only do the selection. We want to apply the modifiers because that's the mirror. The mirror is a modifier, and if we don't have that, then only half of the model is going to export. And we have -z and y up. So we do want to keep the vertex order. So let's see, export as an OBJ. Let's open up the other 3 that we created. So the trash can, file, export as an OBJ. Okay, now I'll cancel out of this really quickly. We have the subsurface applied here, and that's what we do eventually want it to look like. However, I'm planning on rendering in Modo, so I want to apply the subdivision surface in that program. So when I go into export wavefront OBJ, if I keep apply modifiers on, we're going to end up with a really heavy mesh. If I go back here and hit Z, we can see here in the wireframe mode how many more polygons are being added. I mean, it can be a huge amount, but we don't want that. All we want is that, basically. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to save that. I'm going to export into an OBJ. I'm going to not apply modifiers. I should have included normals in the other one. Hopefully that works all right. This is going to be trash can 1, and export that. Okay, let's go into our lamp. Now I am planning on subdividing this, so actually I should check first. Let's see, oh, I must have missed one. Yeah, I did. I forgot this one up here. Control R, put an edge loop there. Control R, put an edge loop on this side. Tap out of that. I apply that. Let's put a smooth shading on it. Looks a little bit better. I think I still missed the one here up at the top. Control R, at the top. So, yeah, that works. Save that. File, export as wavefront OBJ. Not wanting to apply modifiers, it is the selection only. This is going to be lamp 1. Last but not least, we have the chair. Okay. I am going to prepare this for subdivision surfaces. So I need to go in here and Control R on all of these. Control R, Control R, Control R, Control R at the top, Control R at the top. It's not going to be the perfect model, but it'll be something. Control R up here at the top, Control R down here at the bottom, and that looks good enough to me. All right, save, file, export, wavefront OBJ. Do not want to apply the modifiers. This is chair 1. All right. In the character file, I'm actually going to start the rigging. And this will be super simple rig, but we just need to get it started. So Shift A, and I'm actually going to use the Rigify plugin here. And if you don't have that enabled, go into your user preferences under add-ons. You can search for Rigify, and right there it is. So what we need to do is we need to scale this guy up. I need to, well, yeah. I am actually going to pull this guy up because otherwise it's going to wreak havoc on it. And I'm going to re-export it once I do that. Pull this down to about there. All right. So let's scale up our Rigify dude here. I'm going to apply the scale. If I had undid that, it's at 4.806, but I need that to all be zeroed out, so I'm going to apply it again, Control A, scale. There is no scale applied to the model, and that's good. If there was scale, then we needed to change that. All right, so let's go into edit mode here, and let's move this stuff around. I'm going to turn on x-axis mirror. I'm going to turn on 3D cursor, and I have left click selection on, so I'm right clicking to set the cursor. I'm going to rotate that with R. I'm going to scale that in. You know, our elbow disappeared. I just realized that. So I'm going to fix that. There we go. That's a little bit better. Actually, before that, I'm going to go to my armature settings and turn on X-ray, so this makes it a little bit easier. Just basically sees through any object. All right. Go into front view by hitting 1 on your numpad. Keep scaling this in, go into Z. I'm going to scale this so that I can see it. Oops. Go back into 3D cursor mode. Tab out of that. Okay, now I can see it. All right, and that pretty much works. So again, nothing fancy. I'm going to go into side view here. Actually, I'm going to go into top view. Hitting 7 on the numpad. I'm going to delete all the fingers though. Go to tab. Because these do not need to be here. Okay, this is the hand, so I'm going to pull this out to the end. All right. So I've got that much. This is the neck, this is the head. I'm going to bring the head up. I'm going to go back into side view here. Since he doesn't really have a foot, I'm going to delete the foot part of the rig. Actually, nope, I'm going to keep it because I think some of the controls are there. On the front view here, and first we need to select all the ones on this side and rotate out and move him down because his foot is down here. I'm going to scale it back. I'm actually going to select these guys and scale them on the Z to bring them down to where his hip actually is. And it looks like that's about, the knee's about in the right position. So save that. What I'm going to do now, first of all, I'm going to export my, well, no, I'll stay on it. Then I'll export the model. Okay. Select the armature, go over here into your armature, rigify buttons, generate. So it's going to take that meta rig and actually create a rig for us. So that's what all that's in here. It's created a bunch of curves for us up here in the outliner. I can just hide the meta rig. Actually, I could delete it, but I'm going to save it because just in case I need to switch something out or move something. All right, I'm going to turn on X-ray again. I need to get to the deformers, so I'm going to Control Tab into here. And all the deformers, I can't remember which layer they're in. It's not that one, it must be this one. Yep. Yeah. Down here in the bottom left, that's what I'm looking at. Anything with the prefix def, DEF, that's what Rigify has generated, and that's what it's telling us to use for the deformers. So what we need to do is bind the mesh to those deformer bones. Best way to do that is going to be to actually just to select this. We can select the body, can select the armature. Actually, I'm going to Control Tab out of it. Select the armature, Control P. We want an armature with automatic weights, and bam, we basically have everything. So I'm going to turn on all my controls. Actually, I'm not going to turn on the FK ones. Just make life easier. Control Tab into pose mode. And nothing. Okay. What did we do? Might need to apply that first, actually, now that I think of it. Or we just didn't control. Oh, no. I just needed to switch this to IK. Ta-da. Okay. So we have an animatable character. Probably the worst character ever created, but he does work, just barely. I need to turn on IK again. So we have Mr. Boxman with squash and stretch. Okay, save that. I'm going to select my mesh again, file, export. We're going to export as a way for an OBJ. We do want to apply the modifiers because of the mirror. Character 1. Okay. Awesome. Now, jump over into Modo. Finally, right? Okay. So we're actually going to set up the environment in Modo. Ideally, we could use the Layout tab. Honestly, I haven't really figured out how to use this yet. Could just add a path to our files. Oh, I need to SVN tests, test production, models, OBJ. All right. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Because those are OBJs and not a Luxology specific file, it's not going to work. Okay. So we'll have to import them manually, which is fine. So we're going to go up here to File. Based on my last tutorial, or the one that had the Blender to Modo back to Blender linking test, I have it as import reference. Now the only problem with that is I can't subdivide anything, so if we're not planning on changing the model at all, I'd suggest just a regular import, but just for thoroughness sake I'm going to use import reference, and I'll show you why. Alright, so I'm going to go back to where I was, OBJ, and I'm going to select each of these, open. Do not want the lights, environments, or cameras because, well, all I'm wanting to import is the mesh. So hit OK there. I do not want a static mesh. Hit OK. I'm going to hit the same thing for each of the ones that it's importing. Okay. Now, we have references. Ta-da! I'm going to do is create. Maybe I can't do that. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm going to just create basically a folder or a group locator, as it's called, references, and throw all of these. Hit Control. Throw all of those into that folder. Okay, and I can delete all of those. Yes, I do want to delete them. Okay. One thing I did not take into account was scale. When you are creating a scene, you will want to pay attention to that, otherwise you might run into problems. And I might run into problems with this as well. We'll see. All right, so I need to duplicate each one of these so then I can subdivide them. Actually, I don't think I need to well, for thoroughness sake, I am going to. Control D, bam. I'm going to pull all of these up here. Unfortunately, it doesn't name them anything close to what they were named, so I have to go back in here, trash can, lamp, character, chair. Okay. So now I'm going to set up my little scene. Actually, I do not need the character in this scene, I just remembered. Close that scene. And okay. I'm going to go ahead and save this back into my folder. I'm going to pop back up to test production, call it environments. This is environment 1. Okay. So let's set up what we want it to be. It would be a super simple scene. All right. Now, I just realized I'm moving the reference. I don't want to move the reference. Actually, it doesn't matter at all if I move the reference, but we're not going to be using them, so it doesn't make sense to move them. I want to move the actual models. Reason for that is I want to hit the tab key to subdivide it. With the references, I cannot hit the tab key. All I get is the import. So I hit W to translate, move this up. I'm going to go into left view. Now a quick shortcut is the Control Space tool. I can go into any of the views right there. I just went into the left view. I'm going to move this around. All right, take this guy, move him, Control Space into perspective mode. W, I'm going to take this guy and move him maybe over here. I do need to scale them down, so I'm going to hit the R key, hit here in the center, scale, spacebar, drop the tool, take my lamp, and actually the better, I can do all this in here, but even better would be doing all this in layout. Layout or setup, either way would work. W, move this around. Going to rotate this chair. And so we have a super simple scene with just a lamp, a chair, and a trash can. Okay, I'm going to save that again. And we're going to export all of this once more. Yeah. I'm going to export it as, we're going to export it as a wavefront OBJ. Because all we need is the object data back in Blender. The only reason we're pulling it back into Blender is so that the animator has reference to what they're animating to. So the character maybe is interacting with his environment or has to dodge around corners, something like that. He needs to know where those corners are. What is the layout of the scene? So I'm going to go back in here to environment. I'm just going to save it like that. Save. Pull back in here into Blender. Start a new scene. It's just going to delete everything. A, X to delete, file, import, wavefront OBJ. I'm just going to keep the vert order. Honestly, I mean, if you wanted each object to be split, you can use the split object key. The only reason I could think to do that would be to apply different styles to each object if you wanted to differentiate them. But in this simple case, I'm just going to keep the vert order. It makes no difference. I want to import that guy. Import OBJ. All right, what's going on? We have hidden files. Easiest way to get rid of that would be honestly to delete the hidden files. I think I might be able to split it by object and group and then delete those. Oops, that's right. Splitting by group for some reason pulls them all into the same group. All right, so we just need to delete the ones that don't need to be there, which are these. Delete that guy, and delete that guy. All right. I'm going to save this into the environment. Environment 1. All right. Name the scene as well, just make it clear. Finally, now we're going to go into our actual animation file. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Create new directory, anim 01.01. Scene 1, shot 1. We're going to import, or actually we're going to link that environment that we created. So I'm going to go into the scene environment. Nothing shows up, but that's because it is actually its own scene. So what you need to do if you want it to show up in the main viewport here is to go into your scene settings, background, environment 1. Okay. You can't click anything, but that's fine because we're not wanting to. All right. Now we need to link in our character. So I'm going to link the character. Pull back out here. We have models. We have character 1. And go into object. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to cancel. Because I need to do some renaming. Okay. Mr. Guy here shouldn't be called Cube 1. He should be called character 1. Same with his data settings, character 1. Mr. Armature, it's called Rig. That's good enough. Open recent. Let's go back into the 01.01. Okay. Link. Models. Character 1. Object. And I'm gonna, doesn't matter which one I do. import both at the same time if I can. Nope, I can only import one. Okay, I'll import the rig first. Okay, there's our rig. File, import, link, character 1. All right. Now, an alternate way of doing this would have been to put them in as a group. And that's what I've done in the past. However, I need access to this guy's data so I can export an MDD. So that's why I have to import him as an object and not as a group. All a group is an empty with a duplication setting. So if I go down here, if I had a group, I could duplicate a group. If I have, I can't duplicate anything else visibly. But if I had imported a group, if I created a group, so if I had put one of these other things, if I had made a cube here, Control G, oops, Alt G, Control G, that makes a group. I just called it group. I can duplicate that group and should show up, but since it's not, I'm not really sure why. But that's all linking is in that sense. So I'm going to Control Tab. Actually, yeah, you can't do anything with this. And the reason is because you have to create a proxy of the armature. The way to do that is just hit Control Alt P, or I think there's somewhere down here. Yeah, Control Make Proxy. Oops, Control Alt P, Make Proxy. Hit Enter, and I can go into pose mode, and I need to go in here and change this to IK, and we can move our little guy. Now he is a little big. If I had paid attention to scale, I needed to pay attention to scale earlier, actually. So I'm not going to fix it now, but when you are creating the models, they all need to be relative to each other, because that's not an easy fix. You could scale down the whole armature, but that's just basically a quick fix, and that doesn't really help anyone. Let's animate this guy. I'm gonna try to make him sit down. First of all, I'm going to hide. I never remember which one it's in. Hide the relationship lines. All right, that's fun. He's facing the wrong direction. That's why. Okay. First of all, I'm going to, not quite familiar with the Rigify rig yet, but it's coming. Oh, there's the root. I was looking for that. Okay, we're going to rotate him around. I am actually going to scale him down, even though I know it's a workaround, but just for argument's sake. Okay, we're going to pull him over here. We're going to move him into position. If I'd done a better rigging job, this might actually look good. Rigging is never as easy as just clicking a button, so just be warned. Where did his foot go? Oh, right there it is. I'm going to change this one to IK. I'm going to turn off stretch because that's annoying me. Okay. Worst pose ever made, but it's also the worst character ever made. So anyway, you get the idea. It's simple. I'm going to save this. I'm going to select the object, File, Export, MDD data. There actually isn't any animation in this, so I'm going to do that first. I'm just going to move his head back and forth. So I'm going to hit I. don't know if I can move that or if I rotate it. I rotate it. Okay. I'm going to key the rotation, go to 20, 19, rotation. So at least we have something. Save that. File, export. I need to select the mesh first. File, export, MDD. I'm going to go into my animation. 01.01. Oops. 01.01. There we go. Export that. Now, back in Modo. I don't want to import anything into this scene because this is my layout scene. I want to keep it as flexible as possible, so I'm going to start a new scene. I'm going to import as a reference the scene that I just created, the environment, the LXO, not the OBJ. I don't need any of those type of things. I can hit OK. Okay. Now I do need to import into this one the character. I'm going to just do a straight import so we don't have to deal with the subdivision surface problem. Go into my models and character 1. Okay, hit OK. There we are. I'm going to tab them. Yeah, that looks wonderful. It's called cube still. We're going to go into our setup tab, MDD file, and I need to find animation 01.01.mdd. Where did he go? He's way over there. Okay. Had this problem before. Basically, it's flipped and rotated wrong. So first of all, I need to click the MDD influence. I need to scale it -1 because right now he's inside out. Go to the cube. I need him to rotate -90 degrees and 180. Whammo! He is in the right position. I'm gonna take him off tab. Okay, yeah, that's about what we had before. If I scrub through the timeline, he moves. All right. In Blender, what was his last keyframe? Was that frame 19? Something to be aware of. It will offset it by 1 frame. Modo will, because Modo starts with frame 0. Blender starts with frame. Whoa. Frame 1. Start is 1. If you wanted to offset that, you can go into the MDD influence here. I think it's this one that I can change. Let me see. Yeah, start time and end time. So if I wanted to start all of this at frame 50, he won't do anything until frame 50, and then he'll start moving his head, and it'll take 19 frames. So if I wanted to offset it, I could just say start time is 1, and that would make it exactly equal to what Blender has. 1, and then end time is 250. So if I save this, this is render. So And in here, well, here and the individual objects is where we'll apply the different materials to it. Once they're imported into Modo, they shouldn't be edited in Blender. Otherwise, we'll have to keep reapplying the materials. If I go into items here, I tab that guy. He's shared. I need to go into the original here. Lamp, I want you to be tabbed, and I want the trash can to be tabbed. Yeah. Nice thing about Modo references is that you can actually go into the scene that it was in and save it and come back. It's kind of cool. So if I go into render, pull out. There's a little character, and he moves. Now notice down here it doesn't show up. That's because deformers is off, and MDD is a deformer. So if I turn deformers back on, he'll be in the right position. So that's how we get animation from Blender into Modo, into a Modo scene. Now, what if the scene decides to change? It's pretty simple. We can go back into the environment scene. No, I don't want to revert it. It's right here. Say I wanted to swap the lamp and the trash can or something. Hit W to move this. I'm going to pull this over here, and I'm going to hit W and pull this over here. Spacebar, drop the tool, save. I'm going to export as wavefront OBJ, environment 1. Yes, I realize the file already exists. I'm going to go back into Blender here. I'll save this. Open recent. I'm going to go into the Blender environment file, and I'll just have to re-import it. So X to delete everything in there, or A then X. Import a wavefront OBJ. Hit OK, and we'll have those hidden files again. Again, the way to get rid of these is either to delete them manually or just get rid of, in Modo, get rid of this folder right here, the references. I don't know of another way to disable that. Back in Blender, you can see lamp, chair, and trash can have been inverted. If I go into any of the files now, because this is linked, so if I go back into the animation file here, they're swapped. Now, if the animation does include the character picking up an object or something, that object cannot end up in the environment file. It has to be imported as an object, just like we imported the character, and then export the MDD for that object and import it into Modo, exactly like we did. So anything that moves or is going to be animated in Modo will not be in the environment file, because you can't move anything in the environment file. So that's just a quick clarification. Yeah, so again, if we wanted to update the animation or something, I'm going to maybe try to bring his arms out. I don't know, it's really tough to move because boxes don't really deform well. Save, select the object, file, export as an MDD. Okay, go back into Modo, go back into the scene. When we're in model mode, if he's lying down flat, we're in model, in the model tab, which does not have deformers enabled, so we have to be either in the setup or animate tab to see that. So if I come back in here, click the MDD influence and say reload, ta-da, there he is. So we now have an animated scene and we can go back and forth. Awesome, so that was just actually a rather lengthy overview of just everything that you can do between Modo and Blender and how to link the two together. Ideally, it would be better to model everything in Modo than pull it into Blender so that we don't have to deal with the Blender to Modo then back to Blender issue. The character is better off if it's done entirely in Blender, or at least its final stages are in Blender. Otherwise, you might encounter issues with skinning. For example, if you've already rigged the character and you decide to change the position of vertices or something in Modo, then import it back into Blender, it's just replacing the object. It's replacing the mesh, and I haven't tested this myself, but my guess is it would delete any weight map information that you've set. So once it's imported into Blender, and once it's especially once it's been rigged and scanned, it'll be best if it's kept in Blender. The character is kept in Blender from that point forward. Any other objects, though, it can go back and forth as many times as you want. You'll just have to keep re-subdividing it if it does require subdivision surfaces, and reapplying the materials that you created. So yeah, so that's pretty much all there is to bringing animation from Blender into Modo and setting up scenes and even to the point of rendering.